How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, I've got a very special guest for you all. Today, I'm joined by a firefighter, a strength coach, the creator of the Strong Dad Club. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Mark Novak. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you? It's funny. I just was on shift last night and we had a fire all night. So I've just pulled an all-nighter and we're here with you now. So when you mentioned that I'm a firefighter, I was like, oh yeah, actually, I was doing that last night when usually when you're a firefighter, you're not usually fighting fires. You're doing medical stuff or car accidents or whatever it may be. But last night we were actually doing the thing. So that is accurate. Yes.
Ah, right, okay, nice. Well, I think especially over here in the UK, we've had quite a couple of storms, so I'm just a little bit more windswept. I think the fire brigade over here has been more of getting rid of trees off roads and that sort of stuff. But how are you? What's been happening in your world recently? Apart from obviously, a busy night last night.
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. I feel like having two young kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and neither of them are in daycare or anything like that. And I'm obviously working as a firefighter and coaching. So it's just all in all the time with the kids running around at home. So I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can and not get in the mindset of just waiting for kind of like the next milestone. I was actually just talking to a friend last night about that, where at this point where you have kids of that age, like 1 to 4 or 5, it can seem really challenging and overwhelming at times, but it's important just to realize it's not going to last forever and enjoy it as much as you can. So I would say that's kind of where I'm at right now, like balancing work and my coaching and being a dad and a husband. It's definitely a challenging time, but a time that I'm trying to cherish and be as present as possible for as much as I can.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because training quite a lot of clients, members of the gym. There seems to be quite a lot of new dads at the minute, and it's kind of like, oh no, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna fit this in and do this? And like what you said there, it's not gonna last forever. So there's some really positive things that, like what you say, you want to be present with, but then also being like, actually, what can you do? What can you focus on? Um, I know I did quite a brief introduction at the start there, but obviously kind of got a couple of hats that you wear. You mentioned there firefighter, coach, husband, dad. For anyone who might not know your background in terms of coaching, training, how the Strong Dad Club basically came about, just want to give a little bit of a background to yourself.
Yeah, so I've been coaching since I was 22 years old. And I'm 35 now. So I've been coaching in a variety of different environments, from my parents' backyard when I first started coaching my brothers and friends to more commercial gyms, like big box gyms. I don't know what you guys would call them there. Here in Canada, we have Good Life and LA Fitness. So I worked in a gym like that. And then moved on to working at a gym down in Florida, which specialized in training athletes as well as the general population, which is at one time was a pretty popular YouTube kind of channel. It's called Strength Camp. So I was down there for 2 years. Some people might recognize that name or that gym. And then after that, I kind of really got into coaching online, and then that's when I started coaching a lot of weightlifters, CrossFitters, power lifters, just to get stronger, move better, and I've been doing that over the course of like 15 years, I guess. I say 13 years. And then around the time the lockdowns and COVID and all that kind of stuff happened, that's when we had our first son in 2020. And pretty quickly, I realized that my old methods of training myself and other people were not going to work for my training now that I was a dad. So I had to go through a period where my training was awful and I got out of shape. I lost strength. I gained fat. I was just not fit or happy or enjoying any aspect of my training whatsoever. So I had to figure out how to train as a dad. And then I had to figure that out again when I had another son, or we had another son. And throughout that process, I really realized the unique challenges that do come as a dad who wants to be fit and strong and a role model of health and wellness for his family. And I realized the influence that dads have on their children and on their partners. And once I saw that impact that dads could have on their families, I was all in on training dads just because I saw the unique pain points, the unique challenges. And I realized that could really help not only dads, but their families as well.
Yeah. Ah, nice. And one thing, this might be a little bit of a tangent, but I am known to going off on tangents a little bit. But one thing that you've said there is obviously, got out of shape and then trying to find yourself back. And I know from my experience of working with clients, and to probably to a certain extent myself as well, you kind of compare yourself to where you were before, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a hindrance. Do you think that's kind of just like a natural thing to do? And how did you kind of, I don't know if it overcomes the right word, but how did you kind of combat that?
Yeah, I think it's natural if you don't have any guidance. Like a lot of the dads I work with, I'm able to start working with them before they become dads for the first time. So I'm able to guide them through that process. And it's a lot more seamless when you have someone guiding you throughout that, as opposed to me, where it was just kind of like you get thrown in the deep end and you have to figure it out yourself. But I do think that is a natural part of it where you feel like you are losing a piece of yourself because I was competing in Olympic weightlifting at the time, and trying to get back into it when we had our first son. And the training style that was congruent with being a good Olympic weightlifter all of a sudden wasn't fitting into my schedule or my lifestyle. So it did feel like I was losing a big piece of myself because I loved weightlifting and I still do. And I loved coaching weightlifters. And when I wasn't able to train in the way that I wanted to, yeah, it was definitely a difficult transition. But you can go one of two ways, right? Like you can just get stuck in that mindset of like like I'll never be able to be as strong as I was or as fit as I was, and I don't have time, I don't have energy, I'm not sleeping enough. You can get lost in those excuses, or you can get into the mindset of like I'm going to do what I can with what I have, and really quickly you'll realize that you can get back to that same level of strength and even more. You can get fitter, you can get healthier, you can do all these things that you want to. It's just a matter of changing your mindset. So to answer your question, yes, I do think it is a very natural progression to go through, but not everyone goes through that progression positively, right? A lot of people go through it and end up in a bad place for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And how did that, did it take you, a couple of times to get to that point? Because I think what I find really interesting is, you talk about mindset and sometimes sometimes it just clicks, but sometimes you need something to be able to make it click. Was there a couple of points where it took a couple of attempts to be like, do you know what, actually, this is what I need to do? Or was it one of those moments where, something happened and you thought, do you know what, actually, this is what I need to focus on, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a moment in time, but it was just kind of like I was feeling miserable, right? Like I was making myself miserable because of the expectations I was putting on myself. I felt like I had to do an hour to 2 hour training sessions and hit certain numbers and do a certain number of sessions per week. And when I wasn't able to do that, I would beat myself up and feel like I was not disciplined and dedicated, and I'd be overwhelmed by the program that I had set out for myself. And it was just that cycle of feeling like I should be doing something, then my lifestyle not accommodating that, and then feeling like like I said, I wasn't disciplined and dedicated, and then just constantly in that cycle of yeah, just being miserable with my training until I got to the point where I was like, this is not serving me or my family or who I want to be. And that's when I really embraced that mindset of something is better than nothing and doing what I can with what I have. And that's when I realized, like, you know what, I do have time to train. It might not be an hour, it might be 20 minutes some days, it might be 30 minutes some days, but I do have time. And what am I going to do with that time? And I think that's incredibly powerful mindset to get into for dads. And it's also equally powerful, as powerful to give your power away by saying, like, I can't do what I want to do or I used to do, so I'm going to do nothing. And I was in that place for a long time too.
I think that's really important because actually when you said there feeling as though you're not dedicated or disciplined enough, you can actually put your efforts into doing something, but then it's detrimental to other areas of your life because when I'm speaking to clients and members, everything that we do in the gym is to complement the things we do outside of the gym. So you can play with your kids or grandkids or do all the things that you want to do, as opposed to trying to have everything consumed by stress and trying to get to the gym. So actually, it's uh, doing less actually opens up to be able to do more, which I think
Yeah.
sometimes people can get struggle to get their head round. From you experiencing that and in your coaching, what's kind of how do you approach that with your clients to be able to coach that change in mindset? Because well, for a lot of people it is hard anytime that it's trying to change their mindset or their thought process. These things take time. What's kind of your approach with the clients that you're working with?
I think just telling them over and over, it's like reminding them over and over of those things because, like you're saying, it's a process, and sometimes we feel like as coaches we can tell someone something one time and then like, oh, they should take that and integrate it and then be able to put that into action in their life. And that's not the case, right? We have to constantly remind people of these keystones of mindset. And for me, one of them is something is better than nothing. And I'm constantly reminding dads of that who I work with. And it's funny too, because sometimes I feel like in the content I put out on social media, like I'm saying it all the time. And I have to remind myself that people need to hear these things more than once. And it's very vital and important that they do hear them more than once. So for me, my process is in terms of changing mindset is constantly reminding them of that, and whatever situation they're going through, being able to talk through those situations or those hurdles within the context of those mindsets. So it's really easy, I think, for people to slip into shame or guilt if they're not able to do certain things that you set out for them or you've agreed upon that they're going to do. But it's really important as a coach to be able to walk them through those moments and allow them to see them as learning experiences rather than the reason they fall off the wagon for a month or a year or longer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with that as well, it's got to be the thought process that, you know, repeti to get better at anything, you need to put the reps in, that's the whole reason why, I'm sure you've had it as well. Eat your protein and vegetables with your food. I joke with clients on the gym floor. There's some clients that I remind them of the same thing when it comes to either squatting or whatever exercise it is. Sometimes you need that reminder because if we were to say different things every single week, it can be hard to hard to focus on one thing. Whereas if it's that same message, I always like to think of it as like there's like when like coins are trying to dip over in like the arcades. And at some point after repetition, you're gonna like hit the jackpot, and all the coins are gonna come out, because you've got to have that repetition, and then all of a sudden it comes from consistency. But I do also think, like what you mentioned there is actually like talking through situations and being, because anytime that mistakes happen or things happen, you can always learn from them. So like one question that I always ask is, is there anything that you would do differently? Do you think that sometimes where people either struggle or fall down is that they don't maybe tap into their support network or try and just hold things together, and then all of a sudden they just combust because it all gets a little bit too much.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly true. Right? We always think we can do it ourselves. We like that idea of like the lone wolf, and you know what? I just need to grind a bit harder, be more disciplined or dedicated. And I hear it all the time. Like I talk to dads all the time who are interested in my coaching. And a lot of times if uh, we get to the end of the call and I offer them my services, they're like, yeah, it sounds good, but like I think I'm gonna try it one more time on my own. And like I don't want to pay for this service at this time, but I'm gonna try one more time on my own. And I usually follow I 100% of the time follow up with people like that. And I would say almost 100% of the time, people are still in the same place they were when I talked to them on that initial call months down the road. So yeah, I think that's ingrained in our culture as men to do things on our own. But it's incredible what can happen in a matter of weeks when you have guidance from someone who has a system and a plan for you and who understands your unique situation and is able to guide you through those different obstacles. So yeah, it's something I see all the time. I see it in myself as well. Like I want to do everything by myself, but as soon as I reach out for help, I'm like, oh, I should have done this years ago or months ago or however long ago it may be. So yeah, I think it's something that we as men and we could do in marriage.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with with that as well, we're just touching on kind of like the grind, side of things. Where do you think that comes from? Because it's kind of like when you look at everything. So I've actually started listening to I've got Audible and started listening to like Why We Sleep. And you actually like look at that and it's kind of, there's a reason why every living thing on earth sleeps because, you need rest. You can't just keep, doing things. And this whole thing of like, yeah, I've had 4 hours of sleep and I'm still going doing this or doing that. And, surely that's got to only have, a limited shelf life. Where do you think this grind mentality comes from? And do you think it's kind of like dropping off a little bit and more people are asking for help, whether that be working with a coach or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it sounds cooler. Like it sounds really cool to be like super disciplined and grinding and be like this hard guy who doesn't need help. And I think it sells really well because I think people don't like, especially men don't like displaying weakness. So to argue against that mindset of just trying harder and putting more effort into things exposes you perhaps as someone who is not as strong or just doesn't have the right mindset to be successful. But everything that I've found in terms of where I've found success in training and my health and nutrition, it hasn't come from grinding and like hating the process and having to force things and like push this stone up the hill. It's come from enjoying what I do and having fun and feeling joy and excitement at what I'm going to do in terms of my training sessions, in terms of how I'm eating and fueling my body, in terms of who I'm trying to be. So, feeling like at the end of the day, it's almost a self-limiting belief. It needs to be difficult, it needs to be hard because it needs to be difficult. How are you going to give up the lifestyle that you have now, which is perhaps easy and pleasurable and doesn't require any effort? So I don't know. There's probably a lot of different deep philosophical and cultural reasons why that mindset is so prevalent and so popular. But I think it comes down to uh, even if not wanting to accept the fact that perhaps there is another way of living that is healthier and better for them, that is actually more fun than what they're doing. But to get into that lifestyle, they have to give up certain vices that they may have, which people don't want to give up.
Yeah, yeah. And with that, what made me laugh there is as soon as anyone I start talking to people about wanting to lose weight, straight away they want to say, "Oh, do I just have to eat salads all the time?" And it's like, well, no, not really. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be miserable for X amount of weeks, however much of time they want to set aside to lose weight or anything. Like what you said there, that fun and enjoyment. If you're feeling good, you're probably gonna, enjoy your training a little bit more. If you're enjoying your training a little bit more, you're probably gonna want to eat a little bit better, and it has that knock-on effect. I do think in at certain times, things do need to be a little bit harder and going through a little bit of I don't know whether adversity is the right word within training, but sometimes where you have to push a little bit more is good and it builds character. But if you were doing that all the time, you'd just be thinking, bloody hell, this is getting a little bit hard. This why am I doing this a little bit more or doing this right now? We've kind of like stepped into the training side of things, and you mentioned there about you needed to hit certain numbers or do a certain amount of sessions. And one thing I wanted to touch on is there's a lot of talk about what is optimal training, what are you going to get the most out, and I kind of wanted to touch on especially with yourself, with your work, balancing life as a coach, a husband, limited time with children as well. What does optimal look like to you, and how do you get the most out of your training? Because optimal um isn't perfect. No one's ever chasing perfect. What does optimal look like to you to get the most out of your training?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things like to do is outsource the programming that I do follow, in the sense that I don't like to write my own programs, just because I find that I always end up trying to like change them and do weird things like that. So I like to outsource my programming, and that just frees up my mind to just do what is written out for me. But a strategy that I utilize to optimize those programs is a method I call dial 1 2 3, where you're literally just turning the dial up or down based on your day. So I'll plan my week out in terms of when I want to do my bigger workouts, and then so I'll kind of explain what the 1 2 3 means. So a three is something that I can do every single day, no matter what, no matter the situation, whatever comes up, I can do that thing. So for me, that's walking my dog, and I'll walk him twice a day. So that's my three. A two would be something I can do no matter what, twice a week, no matter the situation. And for me, that's going for a run for 10 minutes. And then my one would be something I can do one time a week, no matter what, stressed or busy or sleep deprived, whatever. And for me, that's getting into the gym and doing whatever gym workout. And so I'll plan my week out, and then let's say I've planned my gym workout for a Monday, and then Monday comes and the kids have been up all night, or something comes up, they're sick, I'm sick, whatever. I just turn the dial down. So if it was a one, I'll turn it down to a two. If I'm still not able to do that two, I'll just turn it down to a three and I walk the dog. And then I can do that every single day of the week that I have planned out. And so for me, that turns into an optimal week. So my worst possible week, no matter what, is me going for a walk every single day. My best possible week is doing exactly what I had planned. And I just utilize that dial method every single day to ensure that I'm always doing something, no matter what the situation is. So I'm not always following a program exactly as it is written. In fact, most of the time I am not, but I am doing as much as I can on those certain days. And there are other things I do. My program, most of the programs I follow are like a pretty standard session, so like an hour to an hour and a half. Some days I'm only able to do 30 minutes. And so I just have different strategies I'll utilize to get the most I can out of that 30 minutes while still getting to the most important movement in that workout. So I use that 1 2 3, sorry, dial 1 2 3 method to optimize, I would say, my training, and that's kind of what I do on a week-to-week basis, and it seems to be working quite well for me.
Yeah, nice. And how does that, in terms of your own results, and and whether you've used it with other clients or people you work with as well, how did that actually impact on your own results? Because what I really like about that is that sometimes and I'm sure you've had it before where people will go into the gym where they're not feeling 100% and they'll try and force it, and then all of a sudden they get an injury, and then actually it causes more of a setback than it does of what's that phrase, live to fight another day. How did that
Yeah.
kind of impact your results and kind of feed that mentality of, something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I would say it's allowed people to maintain momentum throughout really stressful, busy times, which I think is, especially as a dad, is one of the most important components of my training is just having momentum and feeling that sense of momentum. So it's allowed them to have that even through periods of travel or work being busy or kids being sick or whatever the situation may be. So I think that's the biggest change it's made for a lot of people because I find the biggest problem for most dads is a lack of consistency, right? Like they they'll be training really hard for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and something comes up, and they fall off, and they feel like they haven't followed their plan perfectly, so they failed, so they stop, and then they stop for months at a time, and then they pick it back up again, and you just get caught in this cycle. We all know what it is, the yo-yo diet or the yo-yo training cycle. But when you're able to implement this dial 1 2 3 method, you're able to just maintain your momentum psychologically throughout really busy times. So like I said, even if I have a terrible week of training, I'm still walking every day. And then at the end of that week, I'm like, I made progress. Like I'm still doing this thing. I'm mentally in the game. I haven't fallen off or I haven't failed. I've done exactly what I said I'm going to do. And in fact, I feel more resilient and resourceful and consistent than I did before. And so when I hit that next week where I do have some extra time or some extra energy or I just feel more motivated, then I'm ready to hit it hard again, as opposed to being in this place of, I didn't do anything for a whole week and like I do have some time, but like, is it even worth it now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people get in that mindset. And I think being flexible in that sense is so important. And that's why I also always tell my clients to strike while the iron is hot, where if you feel good and you want to go up in a lift and try and hit a PR and we don't have it written down, go for it. Like I'm always in favor of people going for it when they feel good, especially when they're dads. So I think it's a delicate balance of dialing things up and dialing things back down. And if you can do that, then that momentum that will give you will allow you to be consistent for a long, long period of time with your life. And that's how you get good results.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I really like what you said there about the flexibility. I think sometimes everyone, well, I say everyone, myself included, is on a schedule. You have certain things that you need to be able to do, and sometimes you don't have that. People don't have that flexibility in their diary or their life, so they think, oh, I'll just wait till next week. I'll just wait till the Monday, to be able to start something again. Whereas, actually, being able to think about, like what you said there, if you can still take your dog out for a walk, you've still made progress. And I think that's where, well, I'd like to know your thoughts. That's where people can struggle a little bit because they feel as though to make progress, they need to actually go to the gym or train or do something. Whereas actually, there's quite a lot of, low hanging fruit that they can pick off, which is ultimately going to allow them to still make progress. Would you kind of agree with that?
100%. And that's something that held me back for a long time was the mindset of, is this going to even make a difference? If I go for this walk, is that even going to make a difference? And I would psych myself out so many times from doing workouts where it'd be like, I don't have time to go to the gym, but I could do some push-ups. And then I would think, is that even going to do anything? Is that going to be a good enough training stimulus to get me towards my goals? It's not going to make a difference, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But once I completely turn that on its head, and every time I said that to myself, is this going to even make a difference? I would say resoundingly, yes, this is going to make a massive difference in my life, and I'm going to do it. And once I started saying that, that's when a lot of different things changed in my training and my mindset. And I think that's something that people should really grasp onto is those things that feel like they aren't going to make a difference are the things that absolutely make a difference in your life, whether that's going for a walk, whether that's doing 5 push-ups in the morning when you wake up and you've had 2 hours of sleep or whatever it may be. Those are the things that make a difference. And if you see those things as the big things and as the things that make the biggest difference in your whatever your goals are, your strength, body composition, health markers, whatever, those are the things that make the difference, then everything will change. Because I think a lot of people are in that mindset that I was of, I don't think this is going to make a difference. When for me, someone who is generally fit and strong and healthy, I found those things make a difference. So if you're not fit and strong and healthy, those things are going to make an even bigger difference for you, right? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a really good way of looking at it. What I was thinking about there is, so I've started watching Ozark. I don't know if you watched that. But there's a bit in there on the TV series where he says like, there's always a choice. Choices lead, to certain things. I hope this makes sense. Anyway, this is what I was thinking about. Is that you make those choices, and they can make a big impact. But I always think that sometimes when it comes to choices, whether it be a case of, depending on how you're feeling, taking or going for a walk or taking your dog for a walk or not doing that can have, build momentum in terms of, positive progress, but it can also build momentum, like what we touched on earlier, in terms of, getting into a rut of not training or doing anything. And sometimes, it takes that willpower or help from an outside source to be able to change that momentum a little bit. So yeah, I like the thought process of if I do this, it's going to allow me to make progress. Just on the training side of things as well, there can be um, especially with like social media. I know I reached out to you on social media. It seems to be the all conquering, all seeing eye for everything, but there can be things of try this exercise, do this one exercise, and you're gonna achieve fat loss, strength, muscle, all in one. You just need to do one rep of it. What's kind of your thought process on these? Fads or these like magic exercises that are gonna allow you to achieve everything you need to achieve over, actually following a rough idea of a program like what you've mentioned there, being able to pick and choose what you can do with the program. What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Kind of just variety versus, sorry, what was
So when we're talking about you mentioned there, you've got a program that you follow,
yeah,
but
yeah.
sometimes you might not follow it exactly, but there's still some form of structure there, as opposed to just trying this magic exercise once, never doing anything ever again, and then thinking that one exercise is gonna help you achieve everything. If that kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think yeah, 100% makes sense. I think the stock answer to that is stick to the basics. Certain things work, like squatting, deadlifting, pressing, pulling. These things work, so stick to those things. But what I've seen is like if you don't like doing those things, you don't have to do those things to make progress, right? Like we see people doing the craziest stuff all the time and they're in great shape. And the thing is, they enjoy doing those things. Maybe they're not going to be the strongest or the best at squatting or benching or whatever, but they're going to be healthy and they're going to be active and they're going to be fit. So what I would say is if you want to get a better squat or deadlift or bench, do those things consistently. And you can obviously play around with movements around the periphery of those things, but that are generally within those patterns. But if you find something that kind of fires you up and you're like, oh, I like this like jump rope thing that I'm swinging around, or I like this, like these weird, like, I don't know, like some weird implement, and that fires you up to train and you're active and more active than you were before and you're making progress, then for sure, like seek as much variety as possible because I think for some people, they probably would get the best results doing that. Maybe they wouldn't get the results that we as strength coaches would see as quantifiable, like real strength gains, but they're going to be more active. And I think at the end of the day, that's the name of the game is to be as active as possible for as long as possible. So yeah, I felt compelled to give the stock answer there, but I think from what I've seen, just in like real life, like the people I see who are the most fit are the ones who are the most active. And that doesn't always mean doing the same things over and over again. That's obviously the best way to make progress with certain things. But just, I think the name of the game is be active and move around. And if that means doing some weird stuff, then do the weird stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for
yeah. I
or
think
expecting.
I think from there, it's always going to come down to, you know, enjoyment. That's what's going to allow you to stay consistent with it. For myself, competing in powerlifting, for the number of powerlifters that I coach, they want to get stronger in squat, bench, and
Yeah,
deadlift. They want to build the total, and they enjoy doing squat, bench, and deadlift.
yeah,
Whereas, I've got other clients who literally they just want to feel good. They want to feel good. They want to look good. They want to be able to do all the things that they want to be able to do. And if that means doing some other bits, I'm quite happy to be like, yeah, let's give this a go. Which is, as much as I enjoy the powerlifting and building into competitions, actually somebody who's just like, I just want to be able to do cool stuff, be able to do chin-ups or whatever it may be, or I had one client who wanted to do see how heavy you could get like his Turkish get up. All right, cool. Let's give that a go. But in terms of his movement, he had no injuries, and he felt good, and he could do all the things outside of it, and that's part of it. Um, One side that we haven't kind of touched on. I know we've spoken about the training side of things and thoughts around that. One thing that a lot of people struggle with, or it can sometimes fall by the wayside, and they don't see as much progress, is nutrition. Especially having kids around. It can be quite hard to one find the time, but also make sure that that the as the dad, as the parent, you're getting enough food in, especially when you're working and doing those things, because nutrition is going to help with your energy levels. Um, how did how did you kind of keep on top of your nutrition, or what kind of advice and recommendations to do you give? Because what I found is that actually it's not so much that people are overeating on food; they're just not eating enough. What have you kind of
yeah.
found with that?
Yeah, 100%. Like I see that all the time with the dads I'm working with. They're not eating enough. So that's usually the first thing that we tackle. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that people and dads make in terms of nutrition is trying to change everything all at once.
Yeah.
And where I've seen the most success is figuring out where you're at, kind of where your baseline is, what you are eating on a general 1 week, like 2 week basis, and small change based on that. Giving people strategies to dial up or down their meals, kind of like what I talked about with my training. You can use that same dial method for your nutrition. And I learned that one from Precision Nutrition, where, for example, if your breakfast at the moment is nothing, you're not eating breakfast, then an easy way to dial that up would be have a protein shake for
Yeah.
breakfast. And if you want to dial that up even more, have some eggs and like a piece of fruit for breakfast. That could be your dial. Like your lowest level could be a protein shake. And this is kind of what I do. Like my lowest level of breakfast would be a protein shake and a banana. And then up from that would be something with more whole foods and a piece of fruit. And then up from that would be like eggs and some kind of salad or like omelet with all kinds of good stuff in it. Like that's my ideal breakfast. So I think utilizing that dial method at first for just one meal of the day and then starting to implement that throughout all your meals is a really good strategy, because when you try to change everything all at once, especially with nutrition, it's so easy to slip up, and then you once again you feel like you've messed up and you end up overeating or falling off for weeks, and then you get in that cycle again. So it's all about really making small changes, but making them easy to implement for a long period of time, and also making them flexible. So you do have different options based on how much time you have. Because if I gave myself the expectation of having like this amazing omelet with 5 different vegetables and a like avocado on the side and fruit and like all this other stuff, like bacon that I made, I wouldn't be doing that every day. Like I wouldn't be doing that even like 2 days a week. Weeks I wouldn't be doing that 1 day a week. So as long as I have that option for myself of having a protein shake and a piece of fruit in the morning, if I'm tight on time, then I feel like I'm on track, and I am on track. Of
Yeah.
course, I can make things better, but my baseline, like the worst day I have, is a pretty good day. So if you can get into that place first for one meal and then extend that throughout all your meals, that's when you can start making progress. in terms of like what you're having for your meals, I don't really want to get into that. But if you're
Yeah.
having a balance of protein, carbs, and greens or fats with those meals, that's ideal too. And then obviously having protein and like all these things we've heard a million times. But I think when the weather hits the road, the most important thing is breaking it down into one meal increments as opposed to being like, I need to completely revamp my diet overnight all at once. That's where
Yeah.
people mess up.
Yeah. I think from that as well is when you said there about, making sure you're getting your protein in your vegetarian. I would be a millionaire if I had a pound for every time somebody said, "Well, I know what to eat. I just need to do it." And that's the thing where that dial 123, what you've mentioned is a really useful tool because
Yeah,
I think when there has to be some form of stability in life, especially when like loads of things changes. You're moving house, you've had a kid, you're changing jobs, whatever it may be. Just by having that one thing of, well, did I at least have a protein shake on a morning? Yes. Okay, you've had some control over your day, as opposed to just letting the day run away from you. Because I'm sure I've had it. I'm sure you've had it. I'm sure everyone listening would have it as well, where sometimes you just think, where has my day gone? I've forgotten to eat, or I've not done this, or I've not got this job done. Whereas actually just, having that little bit of control, that little bit of stability, when things do seem a little bit chaotic or out of control, it can keep that stability. And yeah, what I really, really liked that we touched on earlier was obviously the momentum side of things, just keeping that consistency because consistency is where you're going to see that progress. Whereas this stop-start mentality or this all or nothing mentality, like what we've touched on before, you just end up getting in that cycle. Whereas everything that we've kind of touched on that you've mentioned is, what I really like is just keeping it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate things. We don't need to have that magic plan, that magic formula, that magic exercise. Everything that he's going to allow you to get results. He's kind of out there. We're in the age of too much information sometimes. So yeah, I thought there was quite a lot of good content, good information there. The last question that I like to ask Mark, from everything that we've chatted about today, and for everyone listening, what would be your take-home points or words of wisdom?
words of wisdom would be, and I was just thinking of this as you were talking, so I'm glad
Yeah,
you kind of asked that question, is be resourceful and look for solutions. I think a lot of people I see out there are really quick to say why things won't work for them. Like I just made a post recently about how a barbell is an affordable piece of equipment that doesn't take up a lot of space, and someone posted like a barbell is affordable. Like what are you talking about? It doesn't take up. It takes up a lot of space, and it's just like that mentality of like, oh, that won't work for me.
yeah,
But if you are resourceful and you look for reasons why something will work for you, you're going to be so much more successful and make so much more progress than if you're always looking for just something that's holding you back. Because if you're looking for it, you're always going to find it. You're too busy. You have no energy. You're not sleeping. Kids aren't sleeping. Kids are sick. Whatever it may be, there's always something that you can find that is your excuse. But if you start being resourceful and taking initiative and looking for something that is going to propel you forward, like and just doing what you can with what you have, that's where you're going to see so much more progress. So I think it does come down to mindset and looking for reasons why you can do something as opposed to looking for the reasons why you can't. Because a lot of people are waiting for the perfect moment and it's not coming. Like it's not going to happen. Things just get more busy, things get more stressful. So just do something today and start today because that's the best time to do it. There's never going to be a perfect time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always liken it. I always use the example people is like, think about that holiday that you wanted to go on, or that meal out. You would always find that reason to be like, if you really, really wanted to do it, then you would find that way to do it. And I think, again, this might be a little bit of a tangent and maybe something we didn't touch on, but finding out what your why is. Why is it that you want to be able to do this? And there's no stronger motivator, especially the dads that I've trained, especially the newer dads that train. They want to be that role model. They want to be that person, that fit, healthy person. And for me, there's no stronger motivator or why to be able to do that, which I think is important. Um, Thanks a lot, Mark, for taking the time to jump on. Really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. Lots of really good topics and tangents thrown in there. But for everyone listening who might have any questions about what we've chatted about today, want to see the content that you put out there, or even just reach out to you, where could people find you or reach out to you?
Yeah, so right now, www. I can stop myself. Someone said I sound like an old person when I say www before saying the website. So you can go to thestrongdadclub.com and check me out there, or you can just go to Instagram and look up the Strong Dad Club, and I'm on there as well.
Awesome. 100% everyone listening, go check out the content that Mark puts out there. Some really, really good, helpful information that you can implement right now. Thanks a lot, Mark, for taking the time to jump on. Like I say, really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. Thanks a lot to everyone listening, and I'll see you all next week.